I mean, picture this. You are in a club with your friends, you're having a good time. It's the festive season, and you see this beautiful girl sitting by herself, and you tell yourself, I'm going to buy her some drinks. She agrees. You are having a good time, vibing. And you say, I want to take you home, but she says, actually, I can take you to my house. But the next morning, you wake up on top of a grave. And this beautiful girl is nowhere to be found. This is the story of the famous Peggy, ChiPoko, the ghost named Peggy, that tormented nightclubs back in the day in Zimbabwe. So this girl, we learned that she was born in a family of three. She was the oldest sibling and the only girl. She had two brothers, and the father died when they were young. So when she grew up, maybe 19, 18, 20, she decided to become a lady of the night so that she can help fend for the family, the mother, and to send the brothers to school. She had this client. The client had, was taking good care of her. She was being spoiled, and they became so close. And the client later told Peggy that you should leave being a lady of the night to become a housewife. I want to settle down with you. Peggy was not having it. She refused because all she knew was being a lady of the night, and she was getting back a lot of money to take care of her family. So she was not going to risk her livelihood to become a housewife. She refused. But then this client killed Peggy. It is said that she drowned him, and then she was found days later in a river, and she had a funeral. She was buried at a local cemetery. But then some months later, Peggy comes back to avenge for her death. But she was not avenging the death to this guy that killed her, because this guy was already arrested. He was doing his little crazy episodes in jail, but we are not going to focus on this man, because Peggy was coming back to every other client that treated her unfairly back when she was alive. Those, were, the horror stories that happen to the ladies of the night. Sometimes the client does not pay you. Sometimes clients that they just treat you unfairly. We have all heard the stories coming back to do a comeback to all these guys, to make them suffer, to torment them for what they did to her when she was alive. So, she was going everywhere in all towns to just follow these guys. When she came back as a ghost, it is said that she was tormenting everyone, and the stories are so crazy. One of the stories is this of this guy that, woke up on top of a grave, and there was this address, and not with an address, so she had to go to Peggy's family to apologize and to say whatever. And there's also this story that she was picked up by a guy and she disappeared in the car. And sometimes she'd go to the guy's house and just do the most, like ghosts, they would be tormenting you. So that's what she was doing. She actually did a lot of things. But this Peggy story is still shrouded in obscurity, because some people say this story never happened. It was just a myth created by wives who wanted to scare their husbands to not spend money on the ladies of the night. Peggy ChiPoko was a myth. They say it never happened. Nothing like that existed. But this man called Mr. Doubt, he was in the national paper talking about this happened in real time. Like, he was there in real time when this happened, when this story took off. He says that his cousin was a tenant at Peggy's house, like Peggy's mom's house. The cousin brother was a tenant there. So he recalls everything, like the crazy parts of all these stories. But maybe it's the Mandela effect. Like, the time that I grew up, I really thought it happened the time that I grew up, only to read that it happened in the 80s. But in the early 2000s, this story was being told, and I thought, like, it happened like 2-3 months ago, because sometimes they'll be like, oh, they saw this on top of a grave, they saw a wristwatch, they saw a leather jacket of a man. And I lived in that area in Highfield, so I would think it's happening in my real time. And this man comes say it happened in the 1980s in his real time. So we can never know what really happened with this story. But some people in other towns, they say Peggy ChiPoko existed there also. So tell me, what story did you hear about Peggy ChiPoko in the comments, and then we can just all have fun, you know, discussing these stories, chilling stories that were happening back in the day. I'm coming back with another ghost story or another weird story. Don't forget to subscribe to Auntie Henny's podcast. See you in the next video. Like, subscribe, share, and comment.